We're talking about being forced out.
Correct.
Right. But when you force them out and they're working at McDonald's, Quick Trip, minimum wage jobs, and you're telling them to make it, you're setting them up for failure, to be honest. You're setting them up for struggle when they are going to be preyed upon by anyone and everyone who can take advantage of them.
Okay, so now you're living with, the both of you are living with your parents.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And how does that work?
Go on, say it.
You live with your family?
No.
How does that work?
What's up, everybody? I'm just Daniel,
And it's your boy Trey the Great.
and this is
All
Things
Things
Connected.
Let's start it here. How do you think it makes a child feel at 18 when a parent come tell them, you got to get out of my house. You got to do something.
I mean, it's a million ways that a kid can feel, but to be honest, at that age, you can't really tell a teenager most of the time nothing anyway. They kind of think they know everything. So at that point, unless they honestly different, they don't know how to express that, nah, I'm not ready for this. And they don't know what they don't know.
Sure.
Right. And so if you tell an 18-year-old kid, and usually it's because you all have some fractured relationship, right? Or it's just the way that you were raised, that you need to go out and get it on your own. Number one, they're going to take it because you're the parent and they trust you.
Yeah.
Right. Or number two, if it's a fractured relationship, then they're thinking, I don't need you anyway.
Sure.
Pride, ego, other, things come into to factor, and they're taking it as an attack on them.
Yeah.
And so if you attacking me and you're my parent, forget you then. I'm leaving.
Yeah. I mean, I can only speak to my situation. If I was in that situation, fortunately I wasn't. We didn't have parents to do us like that.
Right.
But I think I would be devastated. I think I would be devastated because most parents that put their kids out at that soft age, right? They're not preparing them for the real world either. So it's just like, you didn't prepare me.
Right.
Now you're putting me out and forcing me to the wolves. And most parents' mentality that has that mentality was like, you either gonna go to college or you're gonna go to the military, right?
Yeah.
And it's just like, dang, this is something foreign. This is something new. College seems the right way to go, but then it's just like, have we set any financial plans to be able to pay for that college, or do I put myself in a bunch of student loan debt to be able to pay for this college? Like, I think for me, if you prepare me to be gone by 18, I think I can take it better. But if you didn't prepare me or give me any tools or any resources to go out there and sustain myself as an 18-year-old young man, then I think I'll feel some type of way about it.
I think the way I'm viewing this here is not really the military, because the military, they take care of you from A to Z.
Yeah.
It's a new environment, but you won't be struggling because you're not earning enough and because you don't have a place to stay. The military, they take care of that.
Yeah.
Right? College, not really so much, because you're in an environment where there are a lot of kids who they are seeking their education. Sure, you get sidetracked and you can, start partying, but the environment is set up for you to receive an education so that you can further yourself in life, right? I think the biggest downfall is when a parent tells you to get out at that age and there's no set plan. You're not going to the military. You're not going to college out of state. right? Because just because you're going to college, you can go to college in state and still stay with your parents. Now, the typical 18-year-old may not want to do that, right? But we're not talking about what they want. We're talking about being forced out.
Correct.
Right? But when you force them out and they're working at McDonald's, Quick Trip, minimum wage jobs, and you're telling them to make it, you're setting them up for failure, to be honest. You're setting them up for struggle when they are going to be preyed upon by anyone and everyone who can take advantage of them.
Sure.
When you hit 18, the first thing you start receiving is credit card offers.
Sure.
And you're not receiving the top of the line credit card offers.
Yeah.
Right? You're receiving subprime lenders who are charging you annual fees way more than normal. They're charging you high interest rates.
For sure.
Right? And then they're charging you initiation program fees.
Yeah.
Right? Processing fees and all of these other things. You're starting off with a low rate, right? A low balance, not a low balance, a low credit limit.
Yeah.
Right? And so they don't know the first thing about a credit card. They don't know the first thing about loans. A lot of times they don't know the first thing about buying a car.
Yeah.
Right? So they buy a car, it's a lemon. They spent whatever they had, if they had any savings, right, on the car, and then it goes out. They don't know anything about maintenance. They are so unprepared for life, and they're going to repeat the same cycle that their parents and parents' parents lived through without any guidance.
Yeah. I mean, it's so bad, man. I mentor young men, and the amount of information that they don't know it's insane to me. Like, I was writing a quote one guy, and he was just like, I was like, man, you need to open your bank account. And so he just downloaded the app, logged in, created an account, and he thought he had a bank account. And I'm like, no, you got to actually like open an account, like go into a bank and, you know, fill out some information, put some money in it. Like he had no clue, right? And this guy was way past 18. This is a 23, 24-year-old young man. I mean, the amount of information that they don't know. Another guy, he had his temporary tags, and he's like, oh, I thought these were my license plates. Like, so he didn't even know how to register a car and get insurance on a car, and, you know, do the necessary things it take to get the car legal. And so, man, it's just so much information that we're not preparing our children for. And to think that we're just going to throw them out and just, all right, figure it out. You know what I mean? And we wonder why they're failing. We wonder. And here's the bad part about that. Most of the time when you thought your kid at 18 and they're not prepared, they coming back anyway. If you love them, if you care about them at any, you know, in any amount of care, you're going to let them come back. So why force them out? And I think this is why this podcast is so important, because we're going to give tools and tips to be able to educate people and help people learn these steps and learn these processes, so that when it's time for them to get out the house, they can have some tools.
Right. And then on the flip side of that, right, I'm going to fast forward a little bit, but then we'll go back to the kids at 18. There's a silent epidemic going on with the elderly. Right? So we kind of alluded to this in the intro, but the elderly are being preyed upon because they're disconnected from their family, right? So you got a grandmother or an elderly mother who they don't really understand how fast the technology is moving. So a random person is contacting them and saying, hey, your grandson or your son is in trouble, send $500 quick. Don't tell anybody. Just send it to here.
Sure.
And they're panicking. They don't even think to call because they haven't been in contact with, because their relationship has been severed. Yeah. And now they're sending money being scammed.
Sure.
In addition to that, elderly mothers, fathers, grandparents, they're in old folks' homes. And you're not getting the love that your biological family will be giving you.
Sure.
But that tie has been severed. Once you kicked them out at 18, you told them, hey, you on your own.
Figure it out.
You got to figure it out.
And so now they saying the exact same thing.
Yeah. What else I'm going to do? That's what you taught me.
Yeah.
Most most kids look up to their parents. When we were younger, we looked up to Pop. I thought Pop was the strongest man in the world.
Yeah.
You know, he take us to the gym, lift some weights. I'm like, dang, my daddy's strong.
Yeah.
Pop never said, I got to get out.
Yeah.
He never said that.
Yeah.
So now, if we teach our children, no, we don't have to leave, then it strengthens the family dynamic. And one thing that everybody struggles with when they get on their own, when they have those children, daycare fees.
Yeah.
That adds up fast.
Quick.
But when you look at these other cultures,
Yeah.
a newborn baby for the average American family is a liability. It's a liability because now you have so much more that you have to pay for.
Correct.
Right? But other cultures who they keep it all in the family and they stay together.
Sure.
It's an addition. We just had another asset.
Yeah.
To work for our business, to work for whatever goal, whatever discipline that we have.
Yeah.
Because my mother, I don't have to pay for an old folks a retirement home, right? So she can watch the kids.
Sure.
Right? So I'm not paying for daycare anymore.
Yeah.
I don't have to worry about whether or not someone's taking advantage of my mother or my grandmother.
Or whether somebody's taking advantage of your child now.
Come on now.
Because we know they're in the best care because they're in the biological bloodline. And so I think it's important that we break this cycle. Let's talk about like what breaking the cycle looks like and how important it is to learn to keep the family together as long as need be, right? Because 18 is a pivotal age, 21 is a pivotal age, 25 is a pivotal age to some people, right? So our father, he said, y'all can stay as long as y'all want, as long as y'all need. Like he said, I remember he told Mom, he was like, my boys don't never have to leave. Like obviously he knew we was gonna leave one day.
Right.
But I mean, that was a strong mindset and it gave us a strong foundation to be able to save money, to be able to mature in our minds, to get over whatever we were going through and to be able to leave when we were ready, right? So what does breaking the cycle look like for a parent and a child, or parents and a child in 2023?
I think it looks like a lot of patience.
Yeah.
I think it, for the majority of us who grew up with, I have to have my house all to myself, I think it begins with the struggle, with our mindset.
Yeah.
Right. And I need my space. But like you said, everybody's struggling so much, right? Most people are one misstep away from everything crashing.
Sure. I think that's why homelessness is so high.
Yeah.
Right? Because like you get put out and now you gotta instantly go into the real world.
Yeah.
And the real world is a vicious, vicious place.
Yeah. And so while we are saying you don't have to feed your kids to the wolves, we're not saying absolve them of responsibility.
Correct.
That looks like responsibility and accountability.
And planning.
Yeah. Right? And so the patience, the understanding, the responsibility, the accountability, yes, you stay with me. We stay together. You have to understand that we need to contribute. We all need to contribute.
Yeah, that makes life a lot easier for all of us.
Yes. When the rent is being paid, split amongst, if it's a 2-parent household, right? A mother, a father, and a child, right?
That's 3.
Why would I kick my kid out and have them pay $700 to $1,500?
We're in 2023, everything's inflated. So $1,200 to $2,500.
You know I'm stuck in the 90s.
There's nothing at $700 right now.
Right. So I'm stuck in the 90s, right? So in my mind, like, so why would you kick your kid out and tell them go out here and struggle to pay this $1,200 rent and then struggle to have food in your refrigerator,
struggle to pay the utilities, struggle to have the proper life that you need, just like the simple things, the necessities.
Simple things.
It'll be it'll be a struggle.
Right? Now, on top of that, you bring that money back into the same household. So now instead of paying $1,200, we're paying $500.
Yeah.
But now I still have a certain level of respect going both ways.
Sure.
From mother, father to son and daughter.
Yeah.
Right? That level of respect and maturation is exponential. It's exponential and it's passed down to the next generation.
Sure.
Right? If it's passed down to the grandkids and they know, I grew up with my grandmother and my grandfather. That's nothing.
Yeah.
That's common for us.
Yeah. I mean, this cycle is so bad, right? Because, like you said, we knew our grandparents. We knew our great-grandparents. We were all in the same environment, right? The cycle has been so bad, especially in the African-American community, that we don't even know our grandparents anymore, right?
Yeah.
Like, and it gets to a place where when we have this cycle continue, it devalues the relationship because you can be family and not have relationship.
Right.
And so I think adopting this behavior is putting negative mentalities and negative stances towards family, because you have a lot of people saying, I don't even mess with my family. Like, I don't mess with my mom, I don't mess with my dad, or I don't know my grandparents, or I don't know my uncles. And now, like you say, we're all over the place, right? Instead of having a tribe of people that understands us, that loves us, that care about us. And now we got to go into the world where we know is vicious, it's competitive, and no one really cares. It's just like, if I can use you, I'll use you. If not, I can't.
So we talked about strength in numbers.
Sure.
Right. Well, we grew up, and I'm pretty sure it's like this all over America. You had a big family.
Correct.
Who nobody messed with because they all stayed in one central location.
Sure.
And you knew, even if you had static with this person, that's a Lattimore, that's a Johnson, or that's a this person, or that's a that person.
Yeah.
And you knew, like, man, I might win today, but I'm going to get it after this type stuff, right? And so think about that. I talk about this, like, because this is just the reality of it. If your daughter, right, meets a random guy and she likes him, but she really doesn't know this man's intention.
Yeah.
Right? And his intention is he has bad intentions.
Sure.
Right? If he goes home with her to her place, or she goes home to his place, right? Or they go somewhere random, then 9 times out of 10, it's a wrap for your daughter.
Yeah, it can get bad real quick.
It'll get bad, right?
Sure.
But what happens if the daughter brings that young man home
to a tribe of men?
To a tribe of men.
Yeah, it's different.
It's different.
I mean, that happened to me when I was in my younger days. Like, the girls didn't have no overseers, no oversight. It was just like, oh, I was more comfortable and relaxed to carry on my agenda, right? But when it was a man involved, an uncle, a cousin, I don't care, just the male presence involved, it was just like, oh, I gotta move a little different. I gotta put on a different, charisma.
That could save your daughter's life.
True. It can.
It could save your daughter's life because somebody could have ill intentions, but they know, like, oh dang, I'll lose my life today.
Yeah, I can't move like this. She has protection.
They're going to disengage.
Yeah.
Why? Because predators go for
the weak,
isolated.
Yeah.
That's what's happening.
Yeah.
So when you come together as a family unit, the predators are going to go elsewhere. We call them soft targets.
Yeah.
In the military, we call them soft targets.
Yeah.
They don't go for hard targets.
Yeah.
You see it all the time.
Yeah.
Right? So now you're strengthening family values.
Yeah.
Right? But we're also protecting our tribe.
Okay. Man, that's a great point. I want to talk about, because you hear in 2023, you hear a lot about independence, being a boss, getting it on your own. I don't need this. I don't need that. Right? How important? No, let me take it this way. Where do you think that came from? And do you think there's a bigger monster in play than individuals thinking this is their mindset versus this is what's been marketed and this is what's been propagated on them?
Yeah, I think that's just our culture. I think it depends on where you grew up. I remember hearing certain individuals say that. I remember Kwame Brown. He was talking about his family in one of the Carolina. I think it's like South Carolina or something.
Sure.
And he was saying everybody was close knit. All his cousins, like they all stayed centrally located.
Yeah.
And then I think he went to Chicago, and they were spread all over the place.
Yeah.
And his cousins was like even joning on him, or
Yeah.
so that you operated differently.
Correct.
Right. And then you even hear him right now when he got into it with Gilbert Arenas, Gilbert Arenas was like, I want that smoke. He's like, that's a big man.
Yeah.
And he got some big brothers.
Yeah.
Like, it's the same thing. But to your point about, do you think it's marketing and propaganda? I think it's a bit of both, because you want to have your individual identity. You want to have your own identity, right? You can't be the same across the board, right? No one wants to be cookie cutter these days. It's just not. That's just not what's hot. It's not the thing right now, right? But I do think there is an element of predatory tactics in separating us, because if I can separate you, then okay, prime example. I want to say Chase or a lot of big banks and big equity firms, they are buying tons and tons of apartments and land.
A lot of real estate being purchased.
A lot of real estate,
by
right?
heavy banks.
If you go out in this world by yourself, you're prey.
Yeah.
Right? Because
how do you compete against that?
You can't, because once and this is how gentrification happens.
Yeah.
They raise the taxes.
Yeah.
People say, when you get a mortgage, your mortgage doesn't go up. No, your mortgage may not go up, but those taxes and insurance go
definitely
up.
Gonna go up.
Right? So if you're barely making it, then you can't sustain that.
Sure.
But as a family, if they raise the taxes to about $200-$300, okay,
we got this.
We got it.
No problem.
We good.
And I really believe, so my perspective on it is, I think it's propagated, and I think it's marketed, and I think it's solicited to our people and this Western culture because of that reason. They know you are weaker by yourself. So they make it look glamorous and glitzy to be by yourself. Oh, get your career and make your money, like $100,000 a year. Like, that used to be great money, you know what I mean? But now 2023, when everything's inflated, your 100,000 is kind of, it's a lot different. And when you're on the island by yourself, they know this.
Right.
And they're going to market and sell you. They're going to continue to inflate things. They're going to continue to raise things up. And then you begin to feel pressure. And what do you do when you're by yourself? When you've ran off everybody because you're Miss or Mr. Independent, and now nobody want to rock with you.
And
that's a play. It's a chess move.
And the marketing comes into play like this. When you think of a family today, what you see on TV, social media, you rarely see the larger family unit. You see a wife, a husband, 2 kids, and a dog. So in our minds, when we think family, that's what we think.
Yeah.
You don't think
extended
granny, grandpa on my dad's side, granny, grandpa on my mom's side.
Yeah.
You don't think of that.
Yeah.
But historically, that's who has always succeeded in life. Families. And that's honestly who will continue to succeed, especially with some of the moves that are being made.
Yeah.
How do we break that in the midst of being quote unquote ridiculed, or people trying to make it seem like, are you weak because of that? Or having negativity towards you staying with your mom and dad, or your boy staying with you.
Oh, yeah, I get it. Because a lot of people be like, oh, you still stay in your mama's basement? Like, I think you got to have a plan. And like we said earlier in the conversation, like, no, this is not a play for you to just be lazy, lethargic, and not do anything with your life, right? Or have any responsibility. This is a play to set you up for success.
Right.
And so I think when the plan is so solid, when the foundation has been set, you don't even worry about that. I remember one time on Oprah, there was like an Indian or like Arabian guy, him and his wife. And Oprah asked, say, so you still stay with your mom? And he said, yeah. And she kind of chuckled. And he was like, you don't? And like, so that just showed a different level of teaching and a different level of information. He was trained in his mind to think like, no, you're crazy to go out and live on your own by yourself and abandon the family.
Yeah.
And where Oprah thought it was entertaining or funny, he was just like, no, you're the crazy one. Y'all are the crazy ones.
Yeah.
And so that's how you combat that thinking. When you know the plan is so strong and solid between your family, you laugh at them. And be like, you really think getting on your own, struggling? Because to be honest, people leaving their parents' house early like that, they struggling.
Right.
At least the people that I know, yeah, it may seem, they make it look good on Instagram, TikTok,
Yeah,
social
for sure.
media. But when I talk to them and have conversations, they struggling.
Right.
They living check to check.
Right.
They robbing Peter to pay Paul. They borrowing. They doing all of these things to just stay afloat. So really, the Arabian man was right. Like, man, the strength is in the numbers. 10 of us beat one of you any day of the week. If I walk into a bank with 10 incomes, I can get whatever I want. If you walk in there with one income and you can't afford it, or you don't have enough job history, guess what they're going to tell you to do anyway? Go get a cosigner.
Yeah.
So it all goes
Yeah, no,
back
true.
to being with your family and having somebody that's going to support you and help you out in times when times get rough. Because yeah, you may walk into that bank able to afford that car at that moment, but the banks are smart. Things happen. You can get fired. You can get hurt. You can have a major crisis. We can have a tornado and tear up your whole job, your whole community where your job is, and you out of a job. They know these things happen. So everybody know, even the banks know, it's smarter when you work together. And so that's how I think you combat it. I think you start making it a laughable moment that people are alone. I think you start changing the narratives. Like, nah, like you can't beat me and my brothers by yourself. You can't beat me and my family by yourself. So I think that's what we do.
Yeah. And so you said a key word. I remember that clip. What happened was she said you stay with your mom.
Yeah.
And he looked, and we're gonna play the clip. He said he looked at his wife, and his wife said, "Go ahead."
Yeah.
And he said, "No, I stay with my family."
Mm.
Completely different perspective. And when he said it, everybody in the crowd got it.
Yeah.
It
shifted the entire room.
Everything. Like, no, I'm not the laughing stock.
Yeah.
I am making everyone here aware that I'm not staying with my mom in a negative way. I'm staying with my family. Now, when I'm staying with my family, what does that do? It gives us exponential returns. Why? Because now this dialogue is opening from the top to the bottom.
Yeah.
Right? Our elders have certain knowledge, and we have certain knowledge as young adults, and our kids have certain knowledge
as kids.
And now that flow of information is going from the top to the bottom. No, Granny, let me show you how to do it like this.
Sure.
And your Granny, I know, don't take that. Let me show you this herbal remedy.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so look at the exponential returns that we are losing out on because we are separating at the age of 18, being gobbled up, chewed up, spit out by all of these predators. And now we don't know what the heck to do, and we don't have that same information to pass on to our kids.
Yeah. I mean, man, we've been lied to and deceived, man. And it benefits nobody but the big companies and the big banks, man. When you watch, we always talk about the Jews and how they're successful and how their money stretches, and how they're able to do it. And I just look at them. If you just study them, man, they work together. Like they teach their kids from the top to the bottom. Like they respect their elders. And so this whole culture where it's just like we don't need or you don't need a man, or you don't need a woman. It's just crazy. We don't need family anymore. Like I just wanted. It's just. I mean, we were not. Man was not designed to be alone.
Right.
Like life is about people.
Yeah.
Like after you get your top car, after you get your dream job, after you go to school and get that degree, after you maintain what this American dream was, if you don't have nobody around, you realize like, what was the purpose of all of this? If I have nobody to share with, if I buy a yacht and I can't call nobody to come get on the yacht with me, what was the purpose of buying the yacht?
Yeah.
Just to say you got a yacht?
Yeah.
I might as well got a little boat and paddled a little bit and,
Right.
caught a couple fish and that was it.
Right.
But like, life is about people, man. And I think we've been deceived and tricked to think otherwise, that it's about money and possessions. And you hear this whole 50-50 dating thing, like, hey, who's supposed to do this on the first date? Who cares? As long as I like you and you like me and we enjoying one another, the bill gonna get taken care of.
Right.
Period. It's that simple. And so I think, man, we got to start combating this stuff and making that stuff look like, man, y'all are crazy. Y'all are nuts. If you talking about this and you think this is cool and you think this is help, you're nothing without people.
No.
Period.
No, bro. So you said something, and I want to touch on that a little bit. You mentioned a ship, right? There is no ship on the face of the planet that can be successfully run by one person.
Correct.
Right? The ship needs a destination.
Correct.
Right? And it needs coordination.
Correct.
Among the team members.
Yeah.
Right? And it needs a certain order. Right? You said respect for the elders. Respect for the elders and respect for the youth.
Yeah.
Right? Do you think playing all that, you can talk to them any kind of way?
Sure.
And no, respect goes both ways. You need to give it in order to receive it.
Sure.
Right? But when we have that, right, and everyone's in sync, we can get this ship to the destination. We can stay on course and we can weather the storm.
Sure.
Because those hard times, those rough times, they're going to come.
Facts.
Right? To have all of the material things, to have all of these mechanisms in place where you don't necessarily need somebody. Oh, I can get a cook.
Yeah.
Or I can have DoorDash deliver my food.
Yeah.
Right? I can have a daycare and I can have a nanny. That's still lonely.
Still lonely.
You still lonely.
And that cost. Them DoorDash fees, crazy.
That's the cost, right?
Yeah.
There's a cost to not having your family. There's a cost to not doing these things together.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, those who are working together, they're saying, how can I separate this person from their money? How can I separate them from their joy? How can I separate them from their family?
Yeah.
How can I convince them that, yeah, you should be doing this alone, and because you should be doing this alone, I'm gonna give you this.
Yeah.
Here's another tool.
Yeah.
Right? But we see it all the time. What we see, and God bless the day, but we see major stars, people who have impacted people all across the globe in a positive way, and then they commit suicide.
Yeah.
And you're like, how the heck
Yeah.
does that happen?
Yeah.
Now, obviously, there are a whole bunch of factors
Sure.
that we don't know about, but it's rare that you see someone around their family and in the presence of love, guidance, admiration, adoration,
Yeah.
commit suicide.
It's true. Man, look, I don't even really want this conversation to end, man, but we gotta go. This has been so great, man.
We got to do a part 2.
We definitely got to do a part 2. Hey, y'all ready for a part 2? Y'all gonna like, subscribe, and comment? Hey, matter of fact, like and subscribe and comment, and we gonna drop the part 2. Man, it's been amazing talking to you, man. The reason why I enjoy this podcast so much, and I was excited to start this with you, man, because you are my brother. Like, you're my biological brother, same mother, same father. And when you presented it to me, man, I just was like, man, there's no way I can turn this down. Like, to be able to work with my brother and put positive content out into the world that supports loving one another, having families sticking by each other's side, riding together, making investments, getting life insurance policies, financial literacy, all the things that we're going to be talking about on this show.
Yeah.
It's a no-brainer, man, because I think Black young men need to see this.
Oh, for sure.
Like brothers working together. And so, man, it's an honor and a privilege to be doing this with you, man.
Most
I
definitely,
love you, bro.
Come on, man. I love you, bro.
Hey, I'm Tread the Great,
I'm just Daniel.
and this is
All Things Connected.